Well, today we're going to talk about Blue's Clues, which is a children's show I'm not super familiar with, but I know it's really, really popular. And this week they came out with a clip to celebrate Pride, which was incredibly disturbing to most of us who are concerned about the promotion of medicalizing children who have gender dysphoria. And I'm not as familiar with the show as you are, Maria. Do you want to just describe what the show is and why this is so disturbing?
Yeah, I feel intensely betrayed by Blue's Clues, by the writers of it. My kids are older. I'm really grateful. They're teenagers now. They let go of Blue's Clues a long time ago, but when they were small, Blue's Clues was huge in our house. We'd sit and watch it together. Blue is a little cartoon dog. First he lived with Joe, and then I think Joe ended up going to college, and so Steve moved in. But it was just so cute and so sweet. And they'd go on little adventures. And he had his neighbor Magenta, this other dog that they would hang out with. It was an educational, really sweet program for kids. And to see Blue's Clues do this, to put this pride parade in, and the stuff that was in it was horrifying. There was a badger with mastectomy scars. There was
Who was clearly a child badger. It was, a child badger, not a grown-up badger.
Yeah, I mean, in the Blue's Clues world, it's kind of all children. I mean, yeah, it's a child-centric show. It's filled with children and young characters. It seemed to be celebrating polyamory. There seemed to be some multi-adult families. It suggested glitter families by saying, sometimes people choose their own families, which is one of the lies that comes out of the gender cult is, if your family of origin doesn't agree with you, just cut them off and get a new family. We know very well these glitter families are older, usually autogynephilic men who try to pretend that they're women to become a glitter mom, and they're just groomers. They're just sexual predatory groomers. I'm just horrified and betrayed. I'm so sad. I'm so sad for families who have young children. I hope nobody saw this accidentally. I can't believe they went there. I can't believe they did that.
Well, and they did it under the auspice of, they had a drag queen who was sort of there, let's watch the pride parade one, and they were sort of pretending like they were doing it to count, to sort of, as an educational show to reinforce counting. But it really was clearly grooming and just shocking. I'm wondering if we should just watch the one little clip where we have the little beaver with the top surgery scars come by, just so people get an idea that, we're not making this up. I mean, this, because honestly, if I were watching us, I would think we were exaggerating.
Oh yeah. We talked about this before. I think we talked about it in a Common Sense Care video. Like every time we think it cannot get worse than this, somebody says, hold my beer, and they take it up a notch. And yeah, I think we should. Let's watch that.
Okay, so let's watch that for a sec.
I'm infuriated. I am just infuriated watching this. This is completely unacceptable.
This is for children? This is this is show?
I can't even look at it. It makes me so angry. It makes me so angry to see this. I cannot believe it.
It's disgusting.
Why on earth would we have young children, 5 and 6 and 7, even younger, watching this? This is truly, truly heinous and horrific, and also women hating. Drag is essentially a misogynistic act. It is an act, and most women are actually pretty repulsed by it. And actually, you know what? Drag is fine. Drag is okay for the club, for the nightclub. It's fine for the nightclub. It's not okay for children. This is
sure it is okay for the nightclub. I mean, it really reminds me a lot of minstrel shows where white people put on black and made fun of black people, as part of shows to make people laugh at. This really looks like the same thing. I know we fight so many battles, but
I do agree. However,
go ahead, Alix.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I do agree. I'm not gonna go to a drag show myself because I don't like it. I the same way as I wouldn't go to a minstrel show. However, many drag queens double as strippers. It is a highly sexual performance, incredibly sexualized. You cannot remove the sex from the sex and the sexuality from the performance. It is in and of itself a very sexual thing to do. Okay, so and to have that, honestly, that isn't even the craziest thing in that little clip, but it should be. You know, it really should be. I don't know why we think if a
Right.
man puts
How
on a
is it
dress,
that
he's
we've
suddenly Mary Poppins.
How is it that we've decided that adult entertainment? I mean, they could easily have just had a porn star on there announcing the next parade, the next family on the parade.
As many of
Oh,
them are. Many of them are. Yeah,
yeah,
many famous porn, many famous drag artists do double as strippers and porn stars.
Well, I
right.
So
said
you
actually,
never know.
I will tell you, I have been to a drag show. I went not knowing what I was going to see. A good friend of mine, her boyfriend said, "Oh, there's this great show I want to take you girls to." Took us there, and these women were walking around prior to the show starting, and they were amazingly glamorous, absolutely beautiful. But then one got close to me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not a woman.
Yeah,
That's not a woman. I'm at a drag show." And by the end of the show, I do think that two men were having sex on stage.
yeah.
They were either actually doing it or really, really convincingly portraying it. And so don't tell me this is innocent fun. Don't tell me this is just, just a fun thing for people to do. You're right. There was like stripping involved. I know, I'm really confident there was sex involved in that. And when people talk about, oh, this is okay for children, like we might be going a little afield here, but drag queen story hour for children in the libraries. Oh, they just want to read to the children. They just want to read to children. I'm like, why aren't they reading to anybody else? Why aren't they going into, elderly retirement homes? Elderly people are all alone. A lot of them don't get any visitors. They would love to have somebody come and read to them. Drag queens, why aren't you reading to the elderly? Why only to children? What is it about children that just appeals to you so much?
Yeah. And it's really disheartening to see a children's show I mean, again, this is grooming behavior. They're trying to normalize all of this. And it's confounding. And it's also really, to me, sort of just a foreshadowing of what we have for the rest of the month. This is Pride Month, and 5 years ago, even I remember Pride Month was a time where there might be a parade, a few people might have flags out. It was to support primarily those who wanted gay marriage. I think that was sort of the one thing that the gay community really wanted, and that the Pride Parade was out there sort of pushing for that. Well, it seems like once they
It's
got
a protest.
bam, yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think as well, like let's not forget the root of it was a protest, right? The whole idea is a protest is to say, okay, listen, things are not perfect. The same way as women have protests because maybe a certain woman might protest because of male violence, okay, or whatever. So although it was kind of a block party, it was also a protest. But now it's like, when you have Deutsche Bank, okay, making your floats, and when you have, Goldman Sachs sponsoring your Pride Parade, you really understand this is all just a money making scheme, and it's really tacky. It's unbelievably tacky, and I have now a lot like of resentment for these for I guess just the resentment for the constant material that is being produced.
well, and that's the thing that I think is most disturbing about this, is that it's not about LGBT rights anymore. It's not about fair treatment. It's about privileging a certain group above others. It's about requiring people to use certain speech. It's about medicalizing and abusing children. It's about grooming and sexualizing our children. That, I mean, to me, there's no way anybody could look at this video of Blue's Clues pride parade and suggest that it was wholesome and educational. It is so clearly grooming. It has
And
nothing to do with gay people.
and there's no nor there's no regular heterosexual family in that parade, right? There
It's
and
not that I could, I mean, it's hard because of course they're animals, and so it's awfully hard to tell. But at the same time, it clearly is celebrating this sexualization because they had all the flags for the different sexualities, which, again, this is about sex. And do we really need to be exposing I mean, age frame, I'm thinking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
yeah,
really,
Blue's
really young
Clues is
kids.
Blue's Clues is geared for very young children.
There is a fundamental difference between the LGBT movement,
Mhm.
which really was, as Alex said, it was, gay couples walking down the street holding hands, versus the TQ, which is about BDSM, bestiality, sex work, being transgender. It's promoting things that are very
Mm.
unhealthy and that we know, and polyamory, multiple sex partners, early sex. These are, children having sexual rights. These are all, and pedophilia ultimately. I mean,
Mhm.
if you are targeting kids with this kind of content, it is clear you are grooming them. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
it's
think,
would and it wouldn't be the first time that pedophiles have tried to hijack the LGBT movement. If you'd want to think about back in the 80s, I think it was Allen Ginsberg with NAMBLA. He had rocked up at a couple of gay protests. And was quickly shown the door, because they said, okay, we don't want this here. We really enough. But it seems as though no one's well, you know what? The people who are saying that, they've been kicked off. Our good friend Miriam Ben Shalom, just 4 years ago, she was unceremoniously told to basically to not participate, or they removed her as the pride marshal. And she, by the way, is the woman who is almost single-handedly responsible for getting "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" out of legislation. So
she's a
somebody
hero
of
for the
that,
LGBT.
or for women, I think, actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not just Miriam. There are other lesbians who have been,
Mhm.
really targeted when they try to advocate for their rights. They are attacked by this group,
Uh-huh.
and so it's almost like, the group has been parasitized. It's no longer about anything relating to, just
Mhm.
accepting and tolerating
Mhm.
homosexuality. It's
And yet
it's
they still
Mhm.
say that it is.
yeah.
The TQ
Yeah.
has hitched its wagon to the successes of the LGB, and the TQ is saying, we're part of them, we're part of them, we're part of them. And they're not. They're
Well,
not. It's completely different. It undermines the LGB, it undermines women, it predates on children.
mhm.
Period.
I think
And it's not
also
just
it does
Blue's
go back.
Clues. We have Legos, we have Peppa
Mhm.
Pig, we have,
Disney,
Disney.
yeah.
Traditionally what happens is that let's say women, particularly lesbians, remain political. This is a hallmark of the whole thing. They've always been very, very political. Back in the United Kingdom, Section 28, the men can harp on about how they got that removed. It was the women. Okay. And I truly believe that because pride is no longer a political or it's no longer political, that there are still political factions inside, like Get the L Out, for example, or the resistors, and they don't like it. They don't want to be thought of as political anymore, but these women definitely do, and look what's happened to them.
Yeah. And it really, what I'm hearing is, increasingly I'm hearing gays and lesbians who are just mortified about what's happening because it's going to have a backlash on them ultimately. And they're seeing what's happening and they don't want to be affiliated with it. For years and years and years, gay men were trying to separate themselves from pedophilia so that they could gain acceptance. We're not pedophiles. We just want to have adult relationships with other men. Well, they finally, got that marriage equality. And guess what? Now it's looking like, oh, they really are pedophiles, but it's not, it's not the, the gay men who just wanted the relationships. It's this, again, it's been parasitized. It's been taken over by a nefarious group that is really trying to target children, trying to target all of society and normalize things that are really dangerous and destructive.
And this has happened to movements before, by the way. We look back and we can even count the number of movements that have been destroyed from the inside by trans rights activists. The environmental movement was torn to shreds by trans rights activists very recently in the last kind of 10 years. I would say the women's movement has been decimated by queer activism and trans rights activists to the
Black
point
rights.
where, yeah, I would say as well, when you have like in the third line of a manifesto that's about women, that they're trans inclusive, you're just like, well, then what is the point? What is the point?
Yeah. And
I don't care.
again, the Black Lives Movement, very similar. Initially they're trying to advocate for people of color. Now it's like the trans rights have just again infiltrated it, and trans rights is now one of their main platforms.
Yeah, and very much to the detriment of the women, okay? Because when you say that Black trans lives matter, and you're saying that above women, right, above women, then you're harming, you're obviously you're harming the women. And when I saw this censorious, this absolutely incredible protest, where they're protesting, male on male aggression, male violence, and they're naming the list of all of these supposedly Black trans women who have died, right? So these males, most of them have died from natural causes. Most of them have died from simple things. One of them was found, and it was tragic, found dead in their home. Another one was shot by the police because they were charging at the police. Like, it was recorded as well. Another one was killed, was listed as one of these Black trans women. And this man had been in a domestic dispute. His partner, who was a woman, had killed him because in a knife battle, right? So the man and the woman manages to overpower them. And all of a sudden, his name's being read out. They've lost the plot.
Yeah.
They've lost the plot.
Yeah, completely. And I think it's really important that I don't know if it's past the tipping point. I thought we were like right on, the precipice where we still had a chance to sort of push it back the other way. But after seeing this Blues Clues segment, I feel like we need to be in defensive posture at this point. I mean, if they can take over Blues Clues like this, what's next? Do you have any sense of what would be the next target of this?
Well, they've taken over the public school system. They've taken over the entertainment industry. My husband and I have started watching Korean dramas. That's what we watch because it's not there. And I have a friend who's in Japan, and she said it's not really here yet. I'm afraid I'm just giving the trans rights people the green light to go attack Asia now. But I mean, it's everywhere. They're going after the public schools. They're going after the parochial schools. I mean, this is not a surprise. They're going to be going after the homeschools. They're coming into your home. I mean, they've already come into our homes via social media, via the movies, via the TV shows. Honestly, I just more and more I start thinking Amish life doesn't look so bad right now. I'm thinking,
I know, I've actually had that thought too. Maybe they got it right.
When I hear about how oppressed and marginalized these people are, I want to retch into a bucket because no, they have taken over. They have taken over everything.
Imagine the kids trying to make sense of this. So basically, they're getting this message about pride is wonderful. Pride is so good. Pride is about lots of sex. It's about chopping off your breasts. It's about sexualizing women. It's about men mocking women. Boy, what kind of, it's so sad. So Alix, can you talk about some of the things people can do to, push back against this? Because I feel like a lot of people, Blues Clues might be the point at which people are like, oh my gosh, this really is everywhere. So what kinds of things can we do to push back?
Well, I think that what we know, first of all, is we don't give in to the BS. But if you are a parent whose kids watch Blue's Clues and you're concerned about this and you want to talk, come to Partners for Ethical Care. As always, if you are a detransitioner or you're a parent who is in need of immediate help, we run a 24/7 chat line. If we cannot help you, then we can absolutely put you in touch with somebody who can. I'll always put the call out to any women who hear this, who maybe are incarcerated or know somebody who's incarcerated, and you're worried about a man who's going to be your new cellmate. Get in touch with Partners for Ethical Care. We want to hear about it so we can redirect you to the correct resources. And just as always, we want to tell people that we're here and we're staying here and we're not going. You can smear us, you can do whatever you like. We're not going anywhere. So we will remain consistent and we will stay strong and remain firm.
And I would also encourage people to contact companies, because that's how we're going to push back. This is, the companies have been responsive to the pressure from the LGBTQ community. And so if we start pushing back and, writing letters to the makers of Blue's Clues and saying, I will no longer allow my child to watch this show, writing letters to companies who are supporting this, pushing back with our, with our economic pressure. That's about probably one of the most powerful ways. I mean, that's how we got to where we are. So we need to push back, right to the TV stations, right to YouTube. I know it's a lot of work. Everybody's busy, but if you can just do one small action every day, one email every day, it's going to make a difference. So it looks like we lost Alix, but I think we're gonna, Alix, our internet connection might not be so good, but I do want to just encourage people to come to our website, Partners for Ethical Care, and there's more information there. And again, like Maria said, start just pushing back, friends, family, even if it's hard. The other thing is sometimes people will respond negatively initially. They might call you a transphobe, they might call you a hater, but then at least you're planting that seed and perhaps they'll think about it. Because I'll tell you, 5 years ago, if you'd been talking to me like this, I'd be like, what are they talking about?
And I think we've all in PEC probably had the experience of somebody who initially poo-pooed us or even looked down on us or called us something, when their child comes home from school and says, hey mom, I'm not a girl, I'm not a boy, who do they call?
Yep.
They call you. They
Yep.
call you because they know that you've got some facts, that you've got some truth. You might be the one that helps connect that parent with PEC, with another source of help. You might be the one that saves a child.
That's a really good point. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and hopefully we'll have some better news next week.